So we may notice at the end of our meditation, the mind is ready to kick right in, start giving us information we probably don't need about what's going to happen later, what our to-do list is today. The mind is a precious, beautiful tool. It's not us. It's not who we are. It's more like a processor. It processes information for us. We have information coming in through our five senses, and we need a way to put all that together to survive in this earth realm world that we're in. So that's what the mind does. One of the issues in our modern culture is that there's become such an emphasis on intellect, on the mind, that we've identified with the mind as who we really are. And we listen to it with very little, if any, space between ourselves and the thoughts that are arising. So when thoughts arise, we automatically attach to those thoughts. And because that we're living in a world, this modern era, where there's a collective consciousness, cultural conditioning is largely influencing and has influenced our collective mind and our individual minds. So a lot of us are hooked in, tied in to belief systems that we've been handed down in our culture that are inaccurate. And they make us feel separate. It's the reason we feel lonely and disconnected and isolated. Our culture tells us we want to be independent. We want to be influencers. We want to have our 15 minutes of fame, whatever that is. Right? We want to win. We want to compete. Buddhism, the words of the Buddha go in the opposite direction. The words of the Buddha were, one very succinct thing that he said that I keep in my heart all the time, is he said, I only teach one thing, suffering and the end of suffering. His whole life, his whole mission was to teach the end of suffering. Not to discover how many planets are in the universe or, all these things that we chase after and we obsess about. He wasn't interested in that. He saw that we were suffering, that humanity on this earth plane suffers deeply and greatly. And he was always pointing to how to exit suffering. And today in Western Buddhism, it's so beautiful because we've really bridged traditional Buddhism with Western culture, with psychology. And what we know in psychology and through this bridging is our suffering is caused because we feel separate. Right? Because we're so attached to this mind and so influenced by these cultural values. And we're taught to disregard values like ethics and patience and generosity. Oh, let's not be too generous because then we won't have enough money for ourselves. Let's not be patient because we're in a culture of over-the-counter everything. We need it right now. Everything's a drive-through. But it's these cultural values that are causing us this suffering that we're experiencing. because it's teaching us to keep separate, to keep disconnected. And so what Buddha was pointing to was, no, that's not the way. That'll just perpetuate suffering. That'll actually magnify suffering. The way to end suffering is to connect to our own hearts, to allow what Buddhism calls bodhicitta to arise through creating some space from the thoughts, from the desires, from our attachments, from our belief systems. And that's one of the core reasons why we meditate. Right? To reconnect with our feeling nature, our heart. You know, Buddhism a little bit, in coming to the West, there are certain teachers that really emphasize this kind of impersonal nature of Buddhism, you know, the no self. In my experience, and what I teach, is that there's a very deeply personal aspect of Buddhism, of all spiritual traditions. We cannot awaken unless we have love arising in ourselves, unless we can connect to how precious we are, how beautiful we are, how courageous we are to even be on the path. Right? We have to kind of go against the grain a little bit to be on a Buddhist path. So in just acknowledging ourselves, this deep part of us that wants truth, we see everything going on around us and say, wait a minute, something's missing. What is this thing that's missing? There's only really a fraction of the population on this planet that are spiritually aligned. And I would say everyone in this room, most everyone on the path, we can say that we are spiritually aligned, or putting some thought and dedication into becoming spiritually aligned. In Buddhism, in traditional Buddhism, it's said that those that are spiritually aligned in this modern era that we're in are kind of the forerunners, pointing the direction to evolution. So for all of us, there's more challenges because we're kind of swimming upstream, right? We're saying, wait a minute, capitalism, is this, the boat I want to be in? Right? Our boat is a boat of truth, of spirituality, and our rudder are the paramitas. Patience, discipline, diligence, generosity. And it's through those paramitas that we learn to love others, and our own innate Buddha nature rises, which is compassion, which is love itself. We don't have to learn to love. We just have to clear away the obstacles that are in the way to self-love, to really feeling our connection with everything. Thich Nhat Hanh called this interbeing. He kind of coined this phrase to teach that suffering is separateness, and interbeing, interconnectedness, which Karmapa wrote a book about. The book he called it Interconnected. It's pointing to how to exit suffering, to become connected, to have the direct experience of being connected to ourselves, of course, right? And then to everyone else. And so much of what we do is to overcome this feeling of separateness. And Buddhism, the Buddha, was pointing to the most direct way. He gave practices for this. Meditation is a very foundational practice. What he's pointing to is Clear away the things that are in the way of us feeling connected. And our own bodhicitta, our own Buddha, will arise. Because we all have it inside. It's not something we have to go and get. We just have to allow it to arise. And because we're in kind of an era of chasing after things and being busy all the time and activity and, overthinking. It's a very trendy thing right now to write books about overthinking. We're afflicted with it. So Buddhism is pointing to just being aware. The mind has gone crazy collectively. We're just constantly the next thing and the next thing, attaining what we think we need to be happy. But before we even get it, we're thinking about the next thing to attain. And psychologically, the way the mind actually works is once we attain the thing we really want, we drop it and just move on to the next thing that we want. We forget about the thing that we've attained. Right? The thing we really want to attain the most is our precious heart and our connection to it. And that's really the heart of Buddhism, is this reconnection with self-love and love in an expanded way such that we know we are connected with everything. Do I have a few more minutes? Yeah? Okay. I want to add one thing, which is a lot of times we see where I am in Crestone, in our center, we have daily meditation practice, we have meditation teachings, we have retreats. A lot of people, when they start meditating, actually start to feel less comfortable. Feelings come up that are unsettling. Grief comes up. Sadness comes up. All these feelings that we kind of keep at bay by being distracted, which our culture tells us is the right way to go. But when we stop having all this stimulus come in and processing it constantly and staying revved up, when we just are still, what does come up is what needs to be cleared away. Often what that is a sadness. Is it almost a grief, right? For how long we've been under the illusion that we're separate. And this illusion of separateness is so strong. It's what drives relationships. So when we just stop, these feelings arise. But they arise to be cleared. Because what's underneath them is our Buddha nature. So if we're meditating and we feel uncomfortable, or we start to cry, right? That is so healthy. Because as a culture, we don't even allow ourselves to do that. Right? We apologize if we tear up in front of somebody, like there's something wrong with us. And that's the most natural thing in the world, to have our feeling nature arise, to experience this world and ourselves fully engaged through our hearts. So I encourage everyone, when I'm teaching meditation or leading meditations, whatever is arising, let's embrace it. It's here for a reason. Right? We can always know the difference. There's that ability to discern the heart from the mind. And if something's coming from the heart, we want to be celebratory about it. Yes, this is wonderful. And see where that takes us. And it will take us into peace, healing, wholeness, completeness. So I'm going to stop there and thank you all for being on the path. And we're all in this together, which is very comforting.